What, pray tell, do we do to start this stuff?
So we make a negative y equals
By the way, today is 2 to the first, 2 to the second, 2 to the fourth.
Oh, somebody in my, and today's World Cancer Day.
Okay. Cool. That date just makes me happy. I like writing it in powers. Alright, how do I start this?
You make a y equals
We need to change them into y, yeah. Isolate y. So we can take the first guy. That's an awesome sound. Alright, what do I gotta do first to make it y on one side by itself? Subtract the x, always. Moving on. So we subtract x. That guy goes away. Alright, so we got 2y less than negative x minus 12. Divide everything, right? All three pieces get divided by 2. Even the x, yeah. And if it helps you to put the little 1 there, I like doing that. I think that's pretty helpful. So this ends up being a negative 1/2 x. And then what does this guy turn into? 6. Alright, so how do I graph this? I know some of you guys did a little review.
Start at -6.
Which negative 6?
Y.
The y negative 6, okay? Boom. What do you know about this line? What does this line visually look like? Yeah, you know that it should be going down, right? It's probably yelling timber, something along those lines. Okay? So, oh, there you go. You got your back. You're good. So I always draw myself a little sketch here. It eliminates one of those, like, having to memorize, do I move left or right when you do the slope? Because if I take this and I go 1 down, if my line needs to go in a downward manner, am I going to go to the left or the right?
Right.
I know that just because I know my line has to go this way, right? I don't have to memorize if I go down, I go right, if I go up, I go... You don't have to worry about it. You just have to, which one's going to make it this way, right? And is this going to be a solid line or a dotted line? A dotted line. How do you know? Yeah, it's only less than, there's no extra line underneath there. So you can actually kind of just keep putting the slope, and that ends up working out as your dotted line. Okay? Does that make sense? And am I going to shade above or below? Below. How do you know? It's less than. If you're having a hard time figuring out, hello. If you're having a hard time figuring it out, go ahead.
Does it record that?
So you want more extra credit? How about doing all the regular credit?
You showed that to me right after I did the extra credit.
I did. It was perfect timing. If you have a hard time figuring out where to shade, really focus just on the y-axis. If you just look at the y-axis, where is the smaller y values? They have to be below this dot, right? So that ends up giving you this section here, okay?
And
So here's what I do. I grab a different color. I think it makes life significantly easier. I always just use 2 colors. But you do, because the actual real answer is where they hit each other. Okay. So how do I change this guy? Move over the X. Ooh, we're on delay now, that's fun. And this is plus 8 because it is a positive 8. Alright. Alright, this is the one thing with inequalities you have to remember.
it flips the alligator.
It flips the alligator because you are dividing by a negative. Dividing or multiplying by a negative, it flips which way you go on a number line. That's what it does. Flipping which direction you're going on a number line. Which is why a positive, when you multiply by a negative, turns it negative. Or when you multiply a negative and a negative, it flips it to a positive. It's changing which way you go on a number line. So this becomes y is greater than. Again, you can throw that 1 in there to make your life a little easier. Negative divided by a negative. I see a lot of people not simplifying when you have a negative divided by a negative. That's the kind of thing that they're going to get really nitpicky about in classes. this guy?
Negative 1 on the line.
Start at -1 on the y,
And then go up to the right.
right? And we know that this guy's a positive slope, so we expect our graph to be moving upwards. We read from left to right. So up 1 and over 8. Or if I go down, I need to go this way. That's not really enough to be a dotted line, so we do need to throw some dashes in there. And are we shading above or below? Above. So where are they going to hit each other?
That little triangle. Right there.
Yeah, over here, right? So, if you do this with multiple colors, what I would ask you to do is you can circle it, you can darken it in, you can grab a highlighter, you can put a big giant star there and say, this is the section, Miss Holly, this is where the actual answer is, okay? But make it really, really obvious. The easier you make things to grade, the higher your grade. Sorry.
Where do you know the shade? How do you know the shade a lot?
So it's all focused on this symbol. Your y values need to be bigger than the y. So if you look at the y-axis and the point where it crosses, you have to be above it in this case. Okay, really just focus on your y-axis. It makes it a little bit easier. Okay. And I think if you bust out 2 colors, it just makes this so much easier. And it makes it pretty. Okay. Cool? Pretty good?
Yep.
Okay. Feeling okay about those? I do have extra practice with these if people want it. Alright, so what, hello. Alright, we already read it. How about these? Who was super confused about these because Natalia wasn't here to clarify that? You okay? A little bit? Okay, so the key with this one also is telling you that x is greater than or equal to -1, so you need to add in that line. Where would that line be? What would that line look like?
A vertical line?
It's going to be a vertical line. This means you're going to cross the x-axis at -1. That's what it means. You're crossing the x-axis at -1. Just like that. Okay? So when it asks you to give the inequalities, well, they've already given you one of them. And which way is going to be shaded for this?
To the right.
Where are your x values, so you're looking at your x-axis, bigger than -1. They're bigger this way, right? That's because it's shaded over here. Okay. How could you figure out the equation of this line?
Start by finding the y-intercept.
I definitely do that. I think the y-intercept is the easiest to do. So what's the y-intercept in this case?
2.
So we got a +2 at the end. What else do you need?
Greater than.
It's going to be greater than or equal to because it's shaded above this. Good. And it's a solid line.
It's 1/4.
How do you know it's 1/4?
Because we're going up 1 and minus 1.
Up 1 and over 1, 2, 3, 4. Ooh, 5. Be careful. Okay? So you just got to find 2 nice points where it crosses and do your rise over run. Not too bad? Kind of okay? Alright, how about this guy?
Positive 7.
+7? +7 is your what? It's going to be less than or equal to because it's shaded below this line, right? It's shaded below this line. It crosses the y-axis at 7. And then we know that this is a nice point.
-3, 5.
And we know that this is a nice point. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And why do you know it's negative?
It's going down.
Because the line's going down, right? So those are those inequalities. Okay, so on that maximizing practice that you got, if you didn't write what the inequalities are, make sure that you go back and you get that practice in. Okay, I've got the answer to your stuff that I was
And then, how do we plug it into Sweet? Because that's the...
Gotcha. So the next piece to this, there's 2 pieces to this, and then when we do linear programming, it throws them all together. This is what's happening. Okay? So you need to find the extreme points, the vertices. Do you remember from geometry what vertices are?
Yeah, I don't remember, but I've heard it.
Heard of it a bunch.
Yeah.
Vertices mean the corners. Where are the corners?
Oh, like,
There's a corner. There's a corner. Yeah, vertices is the plural of vertex. Okay? So don't let that word throw you off. Okay? So I have 3 of them, so I know I'm going to have 3 coordinates. This Polly's all about setting things up. Do you have any that cross at like a really nice place and makes your life easy?
yeah.
They all do.
Nope, they don't.
Really?
You want them to.
We
They
don't get
don't.
the orange one first?
Well, this was a nice point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What was this coordinate? This is it.
5, 4, 3.
5, 3. Please be careful. Remember, slope is y over x. Coordinates are x and then y. I usually write the x and y over top of it so I don't accidentally flip-flop them. That's one of the biggest things I see people do. Okay? The other ones,
They don't line up.
they're not lined up. They're not perfect points. But what do you know about them? You know one of the pieces to the coordinate. What do you know? What's -1? We know that the x is -1 for each of these, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you know your x value, can't you find your y value?
Yeah.
That's what
You
equations
plug
are
it
for,
in.
right? That's what linear equations are for. So how do I figure out where it crosses this line?
You plug the -1 into x and then you
We
just
plug
solve.
-1 into x, yeah. So we've got y, well, we'll leave the y out. We've got a 1/5 times -1 plus 2. If it helps you, 1/5 is 0.2. You can put it as a decimal, that does not bother me.
-1.
So we've got a -0.2 plus a 2. It's positive 1.8. So we've got a positive 1.8. Does that make sense? Right? How do all these things work together? Right? You always have enough information. It's just, can you figure out what pieces to use? Okay? And when in doubt, just like take guess. What can I figure out? What do I know? What can I figure out?
So
And
you
it'll
can plug
get
it
it.
into any equation or just the second one?
Well, this was the purple line. I color-coded stuff here, right? So that was this coordinate right here. So the orange line crosses with the one that's highlighted in green at that point. So we want to plug a -1 into here. So we've got -4/5 times -1 plus 7. -4/5 is -0.8. So, and negative times a negative is a positive, so 0.8 plus 7, 7.8. And you're absolutely allowed to use a calculator. Okay. Not too bad? Then you're going to take this. And by the way, linear progression programming is like as real world as stuff gets. If you do any sort, my dad uses stuff like this all the time. If you like want to know how much money you can make, this is how to like maximize your profit or minimize your cost. This is all super, super real world kind of stuff. Okay? So we're going to take this 5x minus 2y, and what are we going to do? We're going to plug in x and y, because we have an x and y, right? No big deal. So 5 times something minus 2 times something for each of these. And you can just chuck them in the calculator if you want to. Right? So we've got our x value and our y value. Our x value and our y value. Not too bad? And then chuck them in your calculator and tell me what you get. You can use these guys for this. You don't need the graphing calculators for this stuff at all. Like this guy, this is 25 minus 6. You can figure that out in your head. 25 minus 6, 25. If you knock down 5 of them, gets you 20, and then you gotta knock down one more. It's 19. Okay? The other one's not maybe necessarily so easy in your head, but hit me with it. You can grab a calculator right there. I won't stop you.
I just think it's back in my head.
Thank you. Negative 8.6?
And then the last one is negative 20.6.
So which of these would maximize what is the highest number? Yeah, you've got to be careful with negatives here, right? So this is actually your answer. Your answer is whatever X stands for. Maybe it's like bananas and apples, and it's like, oh, well, if I buy 5 apples and 3 bananas, it'll maximize my whatever. Vitamin intake. Not necessarily. You gotta be careful. Sometimes with negatives and stuff, it gets a little goofy. So you gotta be careful. Yeah. Cool? Not the worst thing in the world? Maybe put the next one like that, your left side. Alright, can we do the one that's on the back of your homework, just so that you have a nice recorded extra one of those that we can talk through and you can ask me questions and all that good stuff? Don't be a hater. Don't be a hater. By the way, this word is Afghan, and Afghan is a blanket. You guys wrap around your head. That Muslim people wrap around their head. Is that called an Afghan also? An Afghan is also like a knitted blanket, like that you put on the back of your couch.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I knew about that.
4A, yeah, 4A just like could not stop laughing at it, and he had to like witness the ridiculousness of like, oh, we're making and selling Afghans, and people just like this, like they couldn't handle it. All right, let's calm down. Good. The key with this is taking your time and breaking it down. Okay, so you want to figure out. You're always going to be comparing two things. So read through the whole problem and then go through again and break it down. A small company produces knitted Afghans and sweaters and sells them through a chain of specialty stores. The company is to supply the stores with a total of no more than 100 Afghans and sweaters per day. The stores guarantee that they will sell at least 10 and no more than 60 Afghans per day and at least 20 sweaters per day. The company makes a profit of $10 on each Afghan and a profit of $12 on each sweater. Okay, what two things are getting compared? Afghans and sweaters, definitely, right?
So we know it's going to be less than or equal to because we know more.
We've got Afghan sweaters and we have total values. You're also going to have total values for these. So take it line by line. The company is to supply the stores with no more than 100 Afghans and sweaters per day. Is that about Afghans, about sweaters, or a total?
It's total.
It's a total.
So
And
we do like X plus Y is less than or equal to 100.
beautiful. Yeah. Exactly what we're talking about. Okay? I'm going to kind of go through the whole process so you totally got this. Okay? And no more than. If it's no more than 100, is 100 the biggest number or smallest number?
Biggest.
It's the biggest number, so the big side of the inequality needs to be towards that value. Okay? Kind of how you have to think about it in your head. All right. The store guarantees that they will sell at least 10 Afghans. So does that have anything to do with sweaters?
No.
That has nothing to do with sweaters, right? But that's a total, right? At least 10. So
But how do you
what
know
symbol goes here? Is 10 the biggest number or the smallest number?
the smallest number?
The smallest number, right?
But how do you know if you make a new solution? And how do you just know not to send the question?
Because it's talking about a completely separate.
But we have squares in the first one too.
But this one's only talking about Afghan. Fine. And then it says no more than 60 Afghans per day. So again, that has nothing to do with sweaters, right? And is this the biggest number or the smallest number?
Biggest number.
Because it's no more than this, right? 60 is the tip top that they're going to hit. Okay? And at least 20 sweaters per day. So what's going to happen here? We got 20.
Or equation?
Oh, there's going to be another one. Okay? How do we get down? And this guy, yeah, this is going to be less than or equal to, because 20 is the highest. And does this have to do with both of them? This is Afghans and sweaters? This is just sweaters, so Afghans have nothing to do with this guy. Okay? Okay, last part. The company makes a profit of $10 on each Afghan and $12 on each sweater. That has to do with both of them, right? 10 is specific to the Afghans. 20 is 12, just kidding, is specific to the sweaters. And is there any sort of total with the money? No. That means that's the one you're going to maximize. That's the one that you're going to substitute in the coordinates for. This is like the equals P or equals C or equals R. In this case, it's a profit, so you could say it equals P. Okay? And then, yeah, you just kind of go in and you chuck an X in all the spots over here, and you chuck a Y in all the ones over here. That's how I approach these problems.
This is really
What?
Oh.
Not what you're going to say?
Not
You're going
what
to go
I-
on the opposite side of the spectrum?
I'm on the opposite side of the spectrum. This I've never seen something like this before.
This is well, all word problems are is learning how to take notes on them. We just took notes on the word problem. Okay. So we've got 4 inequalities. Okay. But if it just has an X in it, what kind of line is it? Vertical line, right? You're just giving yourself boundaries to work with. You're boxing yourself in, right, to a section. That's the key. You want to end up with like a triangle or some kind of quadrilateral kind of boxed in section. Okay? So if we just look at these guys, what are they going to look like? Vertical lines, right? So I've got a vertical line. It's crossing the x-axis at 10. Let me make these like big, giant, thick lines. And at 60. We're basically saying you have to fall in between this section, right?
The 10 isn't a fixed. 10 is
That's really what we're saying.
Yes, it is.
Bigger than 10, smaller than 60. So we've already knocked out a bunch of domain, right? And then, yeah, so this guy,
Getting colors.
go for it. It makes it so much better. This guy is going to be what kind of line? Horizontal, right? We're going to cross the y-axis at 20. And are we going above or below it?
Below.
What does it say? Your y value. Oh, we did that backwards.
Wait, what?
At least 20 sweaters per day.
Oh, so that one was
20 is the smallest. Ooh, oh God, who messed up everything? The people that are going to listen to this who aren't here are welcome to come and yell at me for it. We have to do at least 20 sweaters. Okay? So that means we gotta sell at least 20. 20 or more sweaters are allowed to be. Okay. You allergic to mathematical errors?
I have a new handshake, Miss Holly. We're gonna make it our handshake after.
Not after you say it.
Oh,
That's so nasty.
No, not right now. Not right now.
There's hand sanitizer right over there.
Oh, I'm going to caption on that later.
Alright, how do we deal with x plus y less than or equal to 100?
You change them into x plus x, y, the y equals 100.
Yeah, we want to change this into slope-intercept, right? So if I have x plus y is less than or equal to 100, what do I have to do?
You subtract x on both sides and then divide by y.
If this part is really messing you up, just so you know, for a couple people did ask me for an extra video, just like a bunch of examples of this, which will be going up on the website with some extra practice, if that's something that you need. Okay? Alright, how do I graph such a lovely thing?
So you're going to put a point at 100
Mhm.
on the line, that's it. And then you just go down.
Oh, that's where you draw the line diagonally.
Down.
Yes, and think about this. This one's really nice, just x plus y is 100.
And it's just
Where's it
down
going to
one.
cross the x-axis?
100.
At 100, right? So if you know the two intercepts, then you can just connect them. Right?
Oh, wait, can we say for that one again?
You are.
So
Yeah, we
it's
do.
for the upper.
That's,
So it's gonna be
that's the
below
reason
it.
that we solve for y, is to see whether it's above or below.
So it's going to be below it.
It's going to be below it.
Oh, that's great.
Which is good, because then look,
Oh, we found our shaded area.
we got our shaded areas. That's when you bust out.
Wait, what about the last one?
The last one is not graph.
How do you know when
That
you
is not a dark enough color to highlight. How about this? Is that better?
Yeah.
That is like your magical giant area. So when you are shading things, I would shade things a little bit lighter since you're going to have all this overlapping and using different colors. And see how I just kind of did like lines to give myself the general area? It's just, those are the kind of things that you need to do to help your students. Okay? Alright?
So that is our area. That's-
So that, and then
that's
this
it.
just turns into one of the problems we just did. Right? So how many vertices do I have? 3. 3? 4.
Ooh.
Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. These are going to be easier to figure out than you think they're going to be. Okay?
Because they're solid points.
Yeah, so
If you did your graph like really precisely and well, there's straight edges in the back, you might be able to get your coordinates right from your graph. If you were like one of those like people, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I'm so confused.
Okay, so that is a possibility.
Miss Holly, I want you to. Sir?
So I know I've got 4 coordinates here. What's the, just right away, what's this coordinate? You got a vertical and horizontal line going on. Yeah, boom, right? 10, 20, done. Does that make sense for my client names in the back? Are you following us? All right, you can ask me if you're not, you can tell me if you're not, don't lie to me, I'm okay. All right, how about this guy? 60, 20, right? Nice vertical, horizontal lines.
next one's 40.
So, hang on a second. What do you know about this coordinate, like guaranteed?
It's right up. If it has a
Gonna be
big,
The x has to be at 60, right? Because that's that vertical line. So we know it has to be 60. And we know that this x-coordinate up here has to be 10. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
If your other equation is crossing, is 2 numbers added together that equal 100, and this is 60, what does this have to be? 40. It has to be 40, right? That's how you're going to get that 100. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What does this guy have to be?
90.
90, right? Because it's got to add up to 100. It's got to fit into the...
You gotta use.
Okay? And then, we need to substitute it into something. Well, there's our profit, right? We're always talking about profit or cost, something along those lines, right? Yeah? All of a sudden the lesson is making sense. Oh, Miss Holly split up those things on purpose and taught us those first, and then she put them all together. It's like I had a plan or something.
Oh, really? You
It's this thing, it's called my job. Okay. I really have to stop being sick on B-Day.
I know you do.
It's not
Literally,
okay.
like the first week of school, we didn't. Yeah, hold up, you were like.
First day.
The first day we didn't see you. It was like the first month we were like once a week.
Or is that the only reason you love me?
Because you're not around them a lot?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we get sick of you right here.
Okay, I love you right now. That's not what it is at all. Okay. That's okay. Alright, and then it's plus 12. I just need to know what the other number was. Running out of space on the board and writing so big. Plus 12. ahead, bust these out. Substitute your coordinates in. And are we maximizing or minimizing? What is it asking about?
Maximizing it.
Maximize. Okay, so we're looking for the highest number we can. We have to maximize our profit. Have to make all the monies, guys. All the monies. All the monies.
I could use a calculator, but I'm doing it on the side.
First one's 340. 340?
Yeah.
Okay. 840, perfect. I like the tag teaming. Good. Let's each figure out one. Let's see, this is 60, and that's 480. I'm sorry, 600.
That's 1,150.
1,080?
Yeah, 1,050. Hold on, let me check.
1,080.
Oh, it's okay, 4 times 2.
Right, okay. And then what's the last guy? I don't know, is it, what is it? That's 100.
It says 1,000 and 180.
1,180. Alright, boom. That is that's a good prize right there. So what does this mean? Like, you have to go back and relate it to the problem. Which, by the way, I was really impressed on the midterm how many sentences and things. I'm so proud. I'm so proud. What does this mean in the context of the problem?
That if you sell 10 Afghans to 90 sweaters, your profit will be
You're going to maximize your profit. So for the max profit, they want to give each store 10 Afghans and 90 sweaters. Does that make sense? That's like as real world as math gets. That's really actually what people do. If you go in any kind of business or marketing, this is what they do to figure out how to maximize their profit. Okay? Cool?
Yeah.
Last minute questions you want recorded that you can go back and listen to? Any good jokes?
Do you have a good joke? Do you have one? Can you think of one?
I love you.
I have one.
What is a clock do when it's hungry?
It takes.
Goes backwards.
Oh.
Straightforward. Goes backwards at ending.
I don't get it.
After you have your first portion of meal, you get second.
Oh.
That
I got one.
was
Okay, I got one. Why are they called 3 dollars?